Good evening, this is Pine Leaf Needles and welcome to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. Tonight I have with me Andang,
Hey, everybody.
Brax,
Hello, everyone.
Ethelrose,
Hello.
and we may get an occasional nod from Lily, but she has mic troubles tonight and won't be participating in the conversation. So she gives us a nod. Tonight we'll begin with Helm's Deep news, and we had our first dev diary, and they are going in alphabetical order. Therefore, the first one is naturally the burglar. Anyone have any comments on the burglar?
They gave us no information. Come on, Turbine. What's wrong? Tell us information. Not even a picture from Turbine.
Not even a picture. What, a picture of a burglar?
That would be fine. A picture of the skill line would be much better.
If they took a picture of a burglar, you wouldn't see anything.
All right, you forgot. See, so they did give us a picture of a burglar then. We just didn't see the burglar in the picture.
Yeah, they didn't really tell us too much. I agree with you, Andang. I mean, they gave us the 3 trait lines, but we probably could have guessed those anyway.
Yeah,
I think
they mentioned a couple skills, but they never really talked about... I mean, they kind of talked about what stuff was doing, but it was very, very vague.
I think it's kind of a problem because at this stage of, obviously the beta we'll talk about later, but at this stage of the development, a lot of it is going to be up in the air, so there's not a whole lot that is solidly, decided yet.
I'm sure class changes are going to get a ton of changes because they always, like back when they made the minstrel changes back with Isengard, that thing changed so much back in the beta period. They can tell us stuff now and it'll change completely later, but at least give us a picture.
Does anybody here play a burg?
I think I know somebody here has a sister that does.
All I know is they attack stuff from behind and do it in stealth.
Actually, I do have a level cap burg because my burg got the level cap a couple of weeks ago.
So did this article you at all, Pineleaf, knowing that you've played one to cap?
Well, as you guys have noted, it doesn't exactly give a great deal of information. And I do have to admit, the Burg isn't exactly my most proficient class. I mainly like mischief type stuff since I'm skirmishing and I like crowd control.
Right. I mean, my main thing was that it was only like, 3 paragraphs, maybe 4?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And they were short paragraphs. They didn't really talk about even the process of what their thought process was, which is something that's usually in the class dev diaries at some stage. I feel like it's a little too early for them to be putting them out, but I'm glad that they are at least communicating. I just hope that they'll have another round of these later on, but I doubt we will.
Well, we'll see. We'll have to wait until things are a little bit more definite, though of course, as you're saying, we might get the full spiel on release date. Or at least when the players start to send stuff out whenever the NDA is lifted, since I'm sure...
Yeah, I'm assuming once the NDA is lifted, we'll learn a lot about each of the classes. Hopefully Turbine will release something before then that's a little bit more substantial, but we'll see.
Yes. Second, the final piece of the picture that they were slowly putting out is now revealed. So now we have this image, which seems to be a promo image for Helm's Deep. And the big announcement that we thought they were going to give to them was that beta started on September 5th. I know. Hard to predict.
Yeah, it's interesting, though, that beta is happening before pre-orders. I think that's the first time that that's happened that I can remember for an expansion.
Well, that I don't know. I can't remember the order on Mirkwood and Moria. So.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I don't remember for sure, but obviously Isengard was that way, and Rohan was that way as well.
Yes, but there were a lot of complaints from people about them starting pre-orders too early.
Yeah, and so I'm actually glad that they're doing it this way. But at the same time, I expected like a release date or something like that. I don't really care when people can get into a beta that I can't get into, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
think
good
this
to
is-
know that somebody's testing it, but, you know.
This just kind of proves that you can take everything you know about all of their previous release schedules and throw it out the window because it's going to be something completely new this time and unpredictable. So we'll just have to keep watching.
Well, I mean, they already passed the, what was supposed to be the release of Riders of Rohan, and they're coming on the passing the release date of Isengard. It definitely, assuming beta's starting right now, that's about the same time Moria's beta started. So we could be seeing a November release, assuming they're following that path. But, they're dealing with a whole new system of huge battles, so who knows how long it'll be till the game comes out. But they're definitely shooting for this year. So
We're going to have to take a poll on what the final name of this is. Big battles, huge battles, epic battles.
Battles.
Yeah, battles. I guess we'll have to find out that. All right, let's look at other news then from Turbine. The Farmers Fair is now open until September 18th. I know, whoop-de-doo.
This is probably something that Lillicate would be a little bit more excited about than us, but it's good that
Yes.
they're having something that's going on to tide everyone over.
They're doing a few things differently this year. They've got, of course, the Bounder tokens as rewards for some of the quests, most of the quests, I think, and they've also scrapped the whole, what was it, the festival ticket system that they had for buying more quests or buying time. And now they're using mithril coins for all that stuff.
Yeah, that does make a lot more sense. It was a rather weird currency of all those crazy tickets.
So that makes it really nice that they did the free 5 tokens. That can go straight to the Farmer Fair.
Yep. Now, concerning the Bounders bags that you can now get in the Farmers Fair, as expected, the guys at Vanyar managed to complete the fundraiser first for the statue. In addition, Maiar, Brandywine, and Belegier have also completed it. So that's 4 servers that are finished on it so far. Now they did find a bug, and that is apparently that once you reach the total, you're no longer allowed to make turn-ins. Now you may be wondering why on earth does it matter, because if you've already reached the max, why would you want to turn in anything in there? And that is because some people are going for the deeds and completing the deeds of handing in a number of them. Now, they do say, if I get the impression, that once you unlock the second vendor, you don't need deeds to get the items, though, of course, I'm not on any of those servers, so I can't confirm that.
So they also had another bug that they fixed, and I wasn't aware of this because I wasn't doing any questing or anything with characters of this level, but my wife had a burglar that was under level 45, I think it was.
Yeah.
And characters under that level were not getting the deeds when they turned in the Bounders tokens. And supposedly Turbine has fixed that, and players under that level are supposed to have been given credit for anything that they've turned in towards the deeds now that it's been fixed. But the funny thing with hers was she actually crossed from 44 to 45 before they fixed it, and she did not get credit for tokens that she'd turned in because she had crossed that line. She was like a corner case where she actually crossed the line where they were supposed to be getting credit.
Well, I did not hear anything about them having fixed it. I heard that they were going to fix it. I thought it was going to be in the next update, but maybe I heard wrong.
I was assuming it was in the patch.
What, you mean the patch that opened up the farmer?
Yeah, the Farmer's
The
Fair.
Yeah, but there was no patch to open the Farmer's Fair. The last patch I remember was 11.3.
Yeah, so maybe it's still broken. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the fairs don't open up with a patch. They just open up on a
So
flag that they set.
it'll be interesting to see if she does get credit then when they do eventually patch it.
All right,
Since
we'll
she
see what
crossed over
happens.
level 45 now.
Very well. And speaking of little troubles, over Labor Day weekend, which for those of you who don't live in the U.S., here that was the first Monday in September, which was September 2nd. So over that weekend, September 1st, September 2nd, there was a little trouble with the internet traffic going in the turbine, which meant that we couldn't log in. And compensation for this, Turbine is going to be extending at the end of September, extending any VIPs for 2 days, extra days, with lifers getting 250 Turbine points.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think a lot of people were nervous that the beta might be pushed back because of the outage, because they weren't sure, it was out of Turbine's hands. Um,
yeah, it really was. I've got some experience with cascading network issues, and somebody asked me on the in the comments of one of my articles if I thought Turbine did a good job recovering the issue. And my answer to them was, yeah, actually, I do think they did a good job. And the reason is because those cascading network issues, whether they be propagation of routing tables or spanning tree reconvergence or anything like that, some of those really high-tech network stuff, they can be a real pain because you can think you have the problem fixed, and all of a sudden it's moved somewhere else. And so the fact that they took a long time to recover makes me believe that they did a good job in making sure that everything was ready before they actually announced that it was back up. Because if they had gone out and said everything was fixed and then realized there still was a problem and had to bring it back down, that would have been much worse.
yeah.
Yeah, there are always little problems with that when the internet decides to play games with you. And that keeps you from playing games, yes. Now, store sales. This week's free sample is Skill and Slayer Deed Boost. The coupon code is SLAY5, SLAY 5. And I haven't gotten it. I did not get that. I don't know why there's a 5 in there because you only get one of them.
Yeah, you need to pick that up, though.
Maybe you only get to slay 5 NPCs in that amount of time because you're a really bad player. I don't know.
I don't know what.
Turbine just assumes certain things about its player base.
Well, maybe I should get one for my warden on Galadin, since that's most likely one that's going to be doing Slayer deeds soon.
Yeah, that's another nice sample.
Yes. Everything that's on sale this week is 25% off, which includes stat tomes, which is something that I have never purchased.
I have. They help, and it's a permanent buff. I don't know if it's worth it, but it rides the line of being worth it, not in my mind at least. When it's on sale. When it's full price, I definitely don't think it's worth it.
All right. The Dusky Nimblefoot Goat, which is a goat that moves at full speed, but if an orc sneezes near it, it gets knocked off, you get knocked off, and you're without a steed on there. And now I tend to usually go through most places in Moria without a mount. And in fact, one of the few places where I do go mounted normally is between the Chamber Crossroads and the 21st Hall, which is a place free of enemies. So in places like that, the Dusky Nimblefoot Goat is fine, and in fact, that's what I use there. Now, of course, the reason I use it is because it was one of those things I got when I pre-purchased Mirkwood. I would not pay Turbine points for a Dusky Nimblefoot Goat.
Yeah, it's not the best goat in the world.
Yes, and in fact, Certainly not if you were planning on getting it for several characters, because then you'd probably be better off getting the journeyman writing skill and using that, which will convert the slow goat that you get in Moria into a very fast goat.
Here's what you do,
Which
guys. I just figured it out. You get the free sample Slayer Deed Accelerator. You go to
Right.
Sarnir, and you grind for that Thorin's Hall rep goat. Then you're set.
That's, of course, another way you could do it, is, of
and
course,
then you buy the other goat for cosmetic purposes.
Well,
Right.
okay.
right. But anyway,
But I do have
yes,
to say those journeyman speed buffs are really great. I definitely enjoy those.
right. And
Total
that's
aside.
yes, that does help also in that. But yes, the Thorin's Hall goat, though, I think looks a lot better than any of the Moria goats, in my opinion. So,
Yeah, as goats go.
yeah,
I
as
think they
goats,
all
you got a
terrible,
point there.
I think
Yes, I do
shirtless
much
dwarves look
prefer a
terrible
horse.
too, but nobody seems to listen to me on that one.
Yeah, one of my favorite looking mounts, for example, is of all things the Bree starter horse, and
Yeah,
which
that one's
which
pretty cool.
yes, of course, it only goes 132 instead of 162, so therefore I don't use it much. Maybe someday I should consider getting one of those journeymen.
Or 172, yeah.
Yes. The LOTRO, oh no, sorry, we got the 100% XP boosters are also on sale.
Good for grinding up stuff before the expansion. Getting some.
Yeah, it can sometimes be overkill, but I had these things sitting in my inventory, probably from various lotteries or Hobbit presents, or I don't know where I got them from, but I had these filling up my inventory for some of my characters, and I rarely used them all because I was getting up to 85 fast enough as it was. But of course, I've got one of those plus 25% stones in my pocket from pre-order. Well, actually, not past 75, of course, from pre-ordering Rohan, and VIP bonuses also helped.
Yeah, I think you used to get more of those XP boosts in lotteries than you do now. I haven't seen one for a while, but I've got a
Yeah,
stack too.
right. The LOTRO market has been redesigned. They don't seem to quite have everything in there yet, but they're doing it piece by piece. They do say that some of the older stuff can still be reached through the old link if you still have that. But right now, Rohan has been reduced to 19.99 since it's about to become the old expansion, so it's dropping down the price to the price of the other old expansions, and is now being put part of what used to be called the Tri-Pack. It's now called the Quad Pack, and that is available for $39.99. So you can get all 4 expansions for $39.99.
What was the tri-pack priced at? I
That's
honestly don't remember.
yeah, I really don't remember that either.
I want to say it was 40, but it might have been 30.
Let's see. I do know people said it was not that if you had one expansion, it was not worth getting the tri-pack, while with the quad pack, it could be worth it.
Yep.
So therefore, that means then that the difference had to be less than, see, because the old one was 50, so probably 35 would be my guess.
Yep.
But I'm sure someone could write and say what it really was because they paid it and they know it.
It seems like a good deal to me, guys. What do you think? I think that if you're starting out now, and I'm just thinking, one of my sons just started playing Lotro, and if he gets to the point where he's out of the Lone Lands, I could grab the Mithril edition and we could grab this quad pack, and he'd be set for life right there, until he gets to the Helm's Deep expansion.
Right.
Well, you still have to buy some of the side zones, but other than that, it's pretty much set.
Yeah, but you'd have enough that you could pretty much level if you wanted to, right?
Yeah, you could definitely get through to level up, especially with skirmishes and stuff.
Yes, but you won't have many skirmishes. You'll only have at the beginning. You'd only have Tuck and Gondaman, and you won't
That's
get any
true.
more until you get to Mirkwood and start unlocking the. Oh no, that's right. You do have the ones in Moria.
But I'd say once you're to 40, maybe 45, this is, the best deal you can get as far as amount of content goes
And this
in the
Right.
show
includes
right
the
now.
this includes the two classes from Moria, so that's pretty good. The
Yeah.
Runekeeper and the
Yep,
And the
it
Warden.
is expansions, not just the quest packs.
The new Steed, because they like to add a new Steed each month, is the Steed of the Greenwood.
They need to have a calendar for the steed of the month.
uh,
it's the gift that keeps on giving.
either the LOTRO Steed calendar. All right. All right, that'll be a new project then. All right, let's go into LOTRO players. Now, last week, Andang was talking about how our friends at Unexpected Vidcast were doing a parody of Big Brother, and I have to admit that until I saw the episode, I got a completely wrong idea of what he meant. Because I am not all that familiar with Big Brother. I think that it was I think the only thing I know about Big Brother was there was a Doctor Who episode that featured all of these things on it, and
Yeah, there was. You're right.
right, and Big Brother was one of them, and the other one was the the weakest link.
Yep.
So they featured promising, and once I saw the episode introducing Big Burrow, I then began to understand what he meant by Big Brother.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't watch a lot of TV either. Is that show as big in the U.S. as it is in the U.K.? I'm not really sure. I don't
I
think it
have
is.
no clue.
I don't know either because I don't watch it at all, but I did know the general premise of it. But anyway,
Right,
what do you
but
think of this episode?
well, it was a very interesting episode, and the first episode they had where they're showing, I'm not going to go into details on it so that you could watch it on that. And at the end of the episode, he told us to vote for which of the 8 contestants were to be ejected.
Please keep the last contestant. Please keep the last one that's featured in the first video.
Which one was that?
I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but it's the funniest one.
Oh, okay.
The funniest one?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to remember Could you how about giving me race and give me the race and gender? That will tell
That
me which
would
one
give it away.
Oh, that would give it away.
Oh
Yes, it
yeah,
would.
I know who you're talking about.
Oh
then.
yes, it would.
Oh yes,
But
that one.
But what you guys need to go watch it because the entire video is made worthwhile by that final contestant. So be sure to go look at that. And that's episode 8, I want to say, of their show. Not the most recent one. That one features the different people getting ready to be kicked off.
I'm trying to look at the calendar here. When are we going to know the results of that first vote?
Well, I guess tomorrow when they release the next episode.
That would be my guess, yeah. So it's probably too late to vote for the first one, but you'll be able to vote for the second one by the time
I can't wait.
this comes out. Yep,
Yes.
I'm excited.
Very well. Next, Etheros finished his Menagerie series. Do you have a wrap
Yeah.
up for that?
Not really. I mean, I might make a brief summary of what I think of their overall classes, but there's not a whole lot left to say. There aren't incredibly in-depth pets as it is.
Don't you have the table one to still release?
I did, but it was kind of a rough thing. I might make a more detailed one at some point, but to be honest, what the statistics show is basically what I talked about in each article.
Okay, cool.
Right. And despite what he says, I'm still staying with my Bog Guardian.
Which one was your favorite pet again, Shurs? The one you recommend most?
I tend to run with either the lynx or the bear for soloing. The raven is a good option too.
Okay, cool.
Really anything except the saber-tooth or the bog lurker.
I like
Both
the
of those are just aren't worth using.
Well, I like the Bog Lurker despite what he says. Very well. Lily Kate has reached her 50th article, so we could give her a cheer.
Yay!
Yeah, and it was the Small Lotro Adventures. It's a two-parter, so tune in.
All right.
Right.
There's a cliffhanger.
Ooh. And then finally we get to Massively's article on Helm's Deep. I think we have a few things to say about that one.
Yeah, I recommend everyone check out our summary for sure of the article because I think we did a good job covering the main points and giving a little bit of commentary there. And then also on the actual article, the main draw for me anyway is the images that they show of the zone itself. They show the paths of the dead in there, which total aside, where do we think? I want to go ahead and do a poll real quick of all of us. Where do we think Helm's Deep's story will end as far as relation to the Fellowship and events going on? Do we with the initial expansion release? So even if they have like an update the day after that adds in stuff, that doesn't count. Okay, so maybe
not
the
sure
day
what
after
you-
counts, but
what-
anyway.
Could you explain your question a little bit? I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
Yeah, where do we think the epic's going to end, or at least the time frame will end? Will it end like right after Helm's Deep? Will it end
Okay.
with the Fellowship going into the Paths of the Dead, with the mustering of the Rohirrim? Where do we think the story in the expansion will end? And I'm going to go ahead and start with Etheros.
Oh God. I mean, the natural assumption would be that it would end just after the Battle of Helm's Deep. That seems the logical conclusion, but I mean, I can't really think. I don't think they would go so far as to have it finish with the whole Fall of Isengard and everything. I got the feeling that would be for a future update.
Okay, so maybe like update, what would that be, 13 or something like that?
13 or 14, I think 14 next year, early next year, I think. And then the expansion after that will be Gondorish and all that. I think that's probably the most likely way they're going to do it.
Okay, Brax?
Boy, I wish I could argue with that, but that to me that makes a lot of sense. I think you got the Battle of the Hornburg. I think you've been leading up to this huge victory in these last few updates, and they're gonna let you revel in it for a while. So I think that they're gonna stop after the battle, and I think they had a Rise of Isengard. Maybe they're gonna have a Fall of Isengard update.
Okay. Pineleaf, what do you think?
I would say the same thing, that it will end at the end of the Battle of the Hornburg, since we know that has to be in there, since the whole big battles thing revolves around that, and the expansion's called that. And I think it'll cut off at that point. Then 13 is then I think that update 13 or 14, depending on, probably 13, I think, is going to be the Fall of Isengard. 14 will, and maybe the Fall of Isengard, and then send us to the entrance to the Paths of the Dead, and then finally maybe update the whichever one as the landscape area will send us into the Paths of the Dead, and that the next expansion, someone else said, would be Southern Gondor.
Right. I mean, my main thing is that right after Helm's Deep, events are going to happen really quickly, at least if they, Turbine's kind of following the time, but kind of not, because, Wildermore was like not very much time.
Yeah.
Um, so it'll be, interesting to see what they allow us to do. I don't think that we'll have another zone before we go to, defeat Isengard finally. But I don't think it's going to be with the expansion. I don't know how far we'll get for sure. We're obviously going to get through the Battle of Helm's Deep. But it'll be interesting to see how far they go beyond that, I think. So, and then also featured in the article, there's an image of Helm's Deep proper. And there's actually 4 images of Helm's Deep proper. And it looks like a really well-made fortress. I think it's cool how they showed the weakness, which is prevalent in the books and even more prevalent in the films, in the wall there. That was a pretty interesting thing.
Yeah, the culverts.
Yeah. And yeah, it looks like, they don't really show too much of it. It's parts of walls and then the entrance, but it doesn't show the tower yet. And so it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. I'll be excited to see what people end up showing on that once NDA drops, or maybe they'll get it in another article. I don't know. Anyway, the main draw, I think, though, for a lot of people is the skill tree that they show for what class was it again, or did they even say?
The Lore Master.
The Lore Master, yeah. So, what are your guys' thoughts on the skill tree, from what you can see?
I'm trying to pull up the other one. There was actually an updated one. The one in the Massively article was one that Sapient said they didn't really want the press to share because
They
it wasn't
actually
finished
updated the Massively article since
did they?
I think Turbine might have made them updated. I don't know.
Yeah, because this looks like the updated version. Because I'm at the Massively article right now.
Yeah, the first one had like Turbine Point icons to purchase the slots beforehand, but now
Yeah,
it's
which is
built
definitely
in.
not the only thing that you need turbine points for is if you wanted
It was just-
additional tabs.
It was just placeholder images, I think, is what they said. so-
Yeah.
Well, it looks like you can get the eagle a lot earlier in this one, if that's still the eagle icon.
Assuming that's the eagle icon, yeah, if that is. Unfortunately, we can't hover over it and say,
Yeah. Come on, Massively employee, hover over the icons. Come on.
But yeah, if that's the eagle, yeah, you can get that pretty early.
that's-
However,
Yeah, that's a
And
legendary. right
obviously, it's all subject to change because it's beta. So
well, there's that too.
it can all move around. But yeah, I think it definitely looks a lot like the War Steed kind of tree. I thought it's cool how they have like the scroll thing in the background that's like it has each of the 3 different tree colors, but it all combines into one picture. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm hoping that obviously each class will have their own little design on it.
Well,
Yeah, that would be really cool.
I mean, that scroll thing makes you, yeah, it looks like a lore master type thing instead of a
Right, and
generic
that
thing.
might not even be final design, but I'm assuming they're going to stick with that same kind of 3-color thing, and that's pretty cool. Just from a cosmetic thing.
Well, they
so-
need the colors so you know which line it goes with.
Right, but usually I think on the War Steed, isn't it split up, or they don't even have an image in the background, I think, on the War Steed.
No.
So.
Okay, you got a point with that.
So they have the three trees listed here: Keeper of Animals, Master of Nature's Fury, and the Ancient Master. And then over the far left, there's almost looks like another very thin line of skills. Do you know?
Yeah,
what that
and it's actually at the same spot in progression as the other tree. So I'm wondering if you'll actually have maybe the farther along you put in a tree, the farther along you'll get that sidebar to go. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. I'm excited to find out more information about how these work, because we really don't know anything still about class changes, even though we've had the Burglar Dive Diary. hopefully they'll give us some more information really soon.
Maybe we'll get some idea when they get to the Lore Master diary. First, that means getting to the champion and captain.
I'm hoping the champion's like a 20-page document with 80 pictures and, go all out.
Don't hold your breath.
No, they'll tell you that you've got a DPS tree, an AoE tree, and a tanking tree.
No, they'll tell you have a DPS tree, another DPS tree, and another DPS tree.
That sounds more like
but
the
they all
champion.
do different things.
So the other thing about this picture that I couldn't figure out anyway is that on one side they've got numbers with a mithril coin, which I thought that would be, different builds, but on the other side there's also tabs that look like shields, and I don't know, has anybody figured out what that might be?
No, that's really confusing. I have no idea what those could be.
I mean, the tabs on the left, you mean?
On the left, yeah.
Yeah, I think my guess is that maybe they're obviously this is where our traits are going to be. They might put racials and then virtues in those tabs.
Gotcha.
Maybe.
That might be.
Are those part of the tree though? I don't know.
No, but they
they're
might
not?
have like
Okay.
that same character stats area or such
Yeah,
things.
that would make sense, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But still, no way of knowing, obviously, until
Yeah.
we see an image with changed icons or find out some information on it. So,
Who knows
that'll
how that'll be.
We'll know in 2 months.
And then the Fords of the Eisen was a pretty cool shot as well, with a lot of dead bodies. A lot of dead bodies there. In that
Well,
image.
you would expect a lot of dead bodies on
And
the
burning
Forts of
stuff.
Eisen.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the devastation is like as we get closer to Isengard, and if we'll actually be able to cross over. Because I really, really hope that we get to cross over without any loading screen or anything like that into Isengard.
So do you think this is a phasing thing? I think Ethelros, you might have talked about that in your article.
Yeah, my question was kind of whether this Fords of Eisen, it's a completely different type to what you have before, currently on live. Whether it'll just be a heavy phasing, because it looks more phasing than we've had in any other area, except maybe the first town of Rohan, or if they're going to have a Archer type thing where there's two versions of it,
Oh,
Yeah,
actually-
that'll be interesting.
Actually, one of the things that the article says is remembering the disastrous battle at the Fort of Ice, and developers and they'll make sure you'll see the horrific aftermath. Actually, I think this is the aftermath probably of the second battle of Ice,
Yeah,
not the first
yeah, it
battle,
is.
which we participated in.
Right,
It's-
so I guess we probably won't see any different versions of it.
that would be the battle where they eventually just get completely driven from the ford. The one we
Right.
fought in
Right.
was the first.
Yep. So that'll be interesting, and then obviously more shots of just the places we've already been in the epic, if you've gone through there.
Yeah, Edoras.
hmm
Oh,
But
Well, it
overall,
can't be-
the
oh,
images.
you mean yeah, from Edward. Although obviously it's from the Helm's Deep version because we see this white wizard there.
Spoiler alert.
Who's that guy?
Saruman, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, based on the movie version, Theoden's technically Saruman. It's pretty much. He's like, literally like moving exactly how Theoden moves to convey visually that that's what's going on. I thought that was
He's the
interesting.
puppet master.
Exactly. So
Well, they didn't want there to be any confusion there.
yeah. So anyway, hopefully we don't see like a shot of Saruman falling back when Gandalf pushes him back into his chair like out of the film.
The exorcism scene.
Right.
Well, yes, but just remember, if something's in the film, let's just say it's not necessarily going to be in LOTRO, since LOTRO is based on the books and not the
Yes,
film.
and I'm definitely glad about that. And Helm's Deep doesn't look like the film from what we've seen in the massively
No.
images.
Completely different, to be honest.
I mean, It looks similar. You can only do so much with Helm's Deep, but it looks very different with like the construction stuff that's on it. I guess is what that is. There's like, or it's hay. I can't tell.
I think
But
Helm's Deep is meant to be at this point in the story in a state of repair, so it's not in perfect condition.
I
So there's
believe
probably
that is
repairs on
true.
it.
Yeah, because they never bothered to repair it after the last time they went there.
We
Yeah,
got- Sorry, Pineleaf, go ahead.
yeah. The forward walls. I don't know if they have any pictures of the forward walls, but the forward walls, at least in the book, are not even have a big hole in them because, because
Right, and hopefully we'll have earlier, the outside walls in LOTRO. I'd imagine they would, since Turbine has been following the lore pretty closely.
well,
But
you
that's
won't be
something
able to
that
get
wasn't.
there without going through the outside
Well,
walls.
that's something that wasn't shown in the films, so you never know what they'll be doing. But I really hope that they add that in there.
So there was one other thing in the Massively article that we didn't know before, which was the 3 roles that you're going to take in the big battles part of Helm's Deep.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and talk about that, Brax?
Yeah, so I'm reading it off of here. It says the 3 roles are Vanguard, Engineer, and Officer. Vanguards are focused on wading into the battle and doing some personal damage. Engineers fire siege weapons and interact with the environmental objects, and officers give orders.
Yeah, one thing that got pointed out in our article of it was, how are they giving orders? Is it giving orders to other players, and maybe like giving them buffs and stuff, or is it giving orders to the NPCs? I'm assuming NPCs, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I would think so.
I can't imagine it being to other players because
Well, you could say, go
because
here.
if all you're doing is giving people orders and not doing anything yourself, they may mistake you for a ranger.
Well, let's assume that it is these battles really are huge. You'd have to have a way to coordinate all 12 members, and some games allow you to say like, okay, here's a place you need to go. If you go there, you get a certain amount of XP or you get gold or something like that.
All right,
so you don't have to listen to the officer, but you can if you want to get the reward.
Well, maybe in raids, but if you're doing it in a small
Well, yeah, in
group.
solo, I wouldn't imagine that would be the case.
Well, I was thinking small
Of course,
fellowship.
then I guess technically you are ordering around all the other players when you're in solo.
It would have to be a very interesting game mechanic to actually order other players around. I don't know how they would pull that off.
Not necessarily. I've seen other games do it and do it terribly. And so no one ever wants to be the overhead commander guy. I hope it's NPCs, or maybe it's both. You can give objectives while moving around NPCs. That would be interesting, actually. I hope they do that. Because you have to have somebody knowing what's going on the battle, to some extent, and giving orders.
Yeah, but really, who's going to want to be that guy, man? I want to be down there in the trenches, right?
Raid leaders usually like to do that kind of stuff. They do exist.
Yeah. And I think a point I made in the LOTRO Players article is that obviously at least 2 of these roles would seem to be non-combat. So you probably won't be fighting personally yourself.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
And if that is the case, then that might be something that whoever the raid leader is, they dedicate those roles to the people anyone who in their group who may be upscaled, so they might be not as capable overall in combat.
Right.
They might have those do the.
I remember
Steed
in doing Thungohod, when we do Thungohod, you recommend that if you have someone who's good with the Ballistee but might be a couple of levels below everybody else in the group, then put that person on the Ballistee. Then that way you could use their talents to the fullest and not have to probably get killed while in the main battle.
Actually, I did that skirmish just last night, Pineleaf. Now I know why they put me on those devices.
Were you the lowest level character?
No.
He's just the worst character.
I
But
would
he
play-
might he might also be. You also have some players that are particularly good at firing the ballistae and getting the most out of them. So
Like
Thank
that
you.
could
Pine
also
is
be a reason.
amazing at the ballistae.
Thank you. That
obviously.
makes me feel better, actually. Thank you.
Being his favorite skirmish, he's obviously very good at or one of his favorite skirmishes. But anyway, and I think in one of the images it shows like a catapult or a ballista of some type on the top of one of the tower things, I believe, where he's looking up at it
Yep.
from behind
Yep, it does.
Yeah.
at the very end. So, I mean, I'm assuming that you'll have players at the top of the tower or something
Well, yes, that's what.
doing the ballistae.
Yeah, a top
Or
of the tower seems
catapults
to be
or whatever.
good. Yeah, whatever the siege engines are. Things
Yeah,
to
it's hard to tell in this image.
things to kill lots of orcs
Yep.
and to destroy their siege engines, which is probably just as important, since I'm sure the orcs will try to bring in siege engines, or at least the Dunlendings.
Yeah, I was going to add that doing that role in that skirmish is actually very fun. So, I mean, I feel pretty good about the roles that they've assigned here in the big battles. I think they'll find a way to make those interesting.
Yeah, one of the roles they already kind of have in that one skirmish. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the commander role, because we've never had anything like that, the officer.
Yeah.
Never had anything like that.
All right. Now, one image that I found interesting is that there's this image of a lore master with, I count, 4 pets shown at once attacking
Yes.
an orc.
Yes.
Or at least I assume that.
Well, there's
fuzzy white
actually...
thing
Is that a wolf under the bear? I think it is.
More
I
likely
don't
a
think
lynx.
so. The ones I counted was the raven,
lynx.
eagle, lynx, bear, saber cat, and the spirit.
Oh, you're right. That is an eagle. I missed the eagle. I thought that was a brown blotch.
Yeah.
So,
Every pet except the bog lurker.
I don't
Yeah,
know how in the world that skill's gonna work. Like, seriously, that could be the most overpowered thing ever if they're like full health, full damage going out at that. That would be terrifying. And if you're an orc out there, watch out for the lore masters. They're no longer food.
No longer food.
They haven't been food for a while.
Well, it sounds like yes. It sounds like what's going to be food, or yes. It's like, hey, here's an orc. Have din din served.
That fed one pet. Let's go find another.
There's got to be like a 5-minute cooldown on that skill because there's no. I mean, kind of like the lightning one. There's got to be.
Right. They did mention though that they're in one of the things that they're cutting down cooldowns and induction times a little bit. But I'd assume that one would have to be a long induction and long cooldown. Otherwise, there's going to be major issues.
They call that a capstone skill in the article. Is that the new terminology for something that was traditionally like a legendary?
Well, I'd assume that
Yeah.
that's
It
what
is
happens at the end of a tree is a capstone. That's
Yeah, it
that's
is
terminology from other games that have trees.
Yeah, it's at the bottom, so
Yeah,
I'd imagine it would be.
they use this term capstone in other contexts in LOTRO also. For example, at the when you had 5 class traits in a particular line, then the capstone was referred to as the legendary that you would put at the end. And also in the war steeds trees, they do refer to those as capstones at the bottom.
Okay.
You guys don't have any idea how many times during this podcast I've moused over that image trying to get a tooltip to come up.
You and me both.
All right. Anyone else have any other comments about the Helm's Deep article?
I'm actually really excited about Helm's Deep now. Seeing these images and seeing that there's, at least the lore master has an overpowered skill. Hopefully we'll get it as well, on other classes. it definitely gets me excited about the changes that they're making and the storyline that's going on. Seeing them in with Theoden in his hall. I am really getting excited for this expansion, which we've had basically no information. I mean, we've had tidbits, but nothing real. And this is
Right.
the first big piece of news. So
This is a larger tidbit.
yeah,
This-
more
it-
than the Burglar Dev Diary, yes.
Yeah, it makes me feel good looking at the tree. I think because the number of skills was something we talked about earlier. To me, this seems to be about the right number. I mean, I know this tree isn't filled out completely.
Yeah, and it seems like that they, based on looking at how many's there, they might be, and I think they might have mentioned somewhere else that they might be adding several more skills. Because in the what was that one preview a few weeks ago talking about in the Twitter chat talking about the classes, they mentioned a lot of newer
Yeah,
skills.
there'll be some that are
So,
auto granted.
assuming we still
they
have
said.
the same amount of skills already plus new skills, that's about 30 skills per tree or so. 20 to 30 skills per tree. Or loadout, I suppose. However you want to put it. So, that's encouraging.
Very well. Any other comments?
Bring on the beta.
Yes. Very well. We would like to thank Thordsy McCamille, an 85 Guardian on Eldar, for his donation to LOTRO players. If you would like to get a mention, then please donate to LOTRO players by pressing the donate button on the upper right-hand corner of our LOTRO players page. For $5, you get a mention on the LOTRO players podcast of your choice, while for $10, you get a mention on all 7 current podcasts. Or is it just 6 still?
It's just 6 still.
6, that's right, not LOTROcast yet,
but
sorry.
I've been in talks with LOTROcast. There's a very high chance it'll be added, so
Okay,
don't be
for now
surprised.
it's
But for now it's 6.
That's LOTRO Players News, Fellowship of the Creeps. So I think you forgot it again this week.
Yep, but I added it in at the end, so it's all
All
good.
right.
I'm
Through
thinking
the-
about just adding it in at the end for each one, so.
Oh, you mean adding a little addendum at the end?
Yep,
Yes.
because
okay.
I always forget anyway, so might as well just do it that way.
Right. Through the Palantir, an unexpected vidcast, LOTRO Academy, and Lily Kate's Small LOTRO Adventures. In addition, if you would like to help us while you're shopping, you could press on the Amazon section where Amazon will give us a little percentage of the purchases that you make through Amazon by clicking through the Amazon button on our site. The ending will know more about that.
Yeah, it shows different Lord of the Rings stuff that I thought was interesting that I added to the list. I think there's like 26 items there that you can click on. And if you do one of the ones that we recommend, we actually get a larger percentage. And if you click on the Amazon icon in the bottom right, then go to wherever you want to purchase on Amazon, then we'll get a percentage off of that as well. So you can help out LOTROplayers.com through both of those ways.
And make sure you've got your ad blockers plug-in turned off.
What happens if you don't?
Then you're not going to see the Amazon ad.
And you can't help support LOTRO players, so there you go.
All right, and you can find us on Middle Earth Network at LOTROplayers.com. Until next time, remember to skirmish responsibly.
Night, everybody.
Goodbye.
Good night.